north of you. Well, we're in Williamson County. Yeah.
Yes.
One county north of you, just southeast of Temple. And we do our queen rearing and our spring beekeeping in Milam and Lee and Burleson counties, so we're more out east and a little bit northeast with a lot of our operation for most of the year. Last year, we took a year off of queen breeding, and I'll tell you what that meant for our company to do that. The first year that we bought bees, my granddad bought bees in 1930 over in Milam County, and the very first spring, one of the largest queen and bee shippers in the state of Texas at that time was located in Cameron, there in Milam County, and he got word over to my granddad that he was short on a queen order, and did he have queens? And Grandpa didn't know much about beekeeping. In 1930, he was a great butcher, and had just lost a grocery store when folks' crops didn't come in the fall of '29, and bought these bees over the winter. He did know that there was one queen in every beehive. And so he said, yeah, I've got 150 queens. And so they went out and caught every queen out of every beehive. He also knew that hives would tend to raise their own queen back, and sold that 150 queens, and that was the first cash crop. So we've been raising queens pretty solid for 80 years. And last year we took a year off, and I'll tell you a quick story why, and then I'll tell you that we're back in it this year. Small hive beetle, you have in your beehives. If you haven't seen it, you will. I'm sure most of you have. It's really a lot tougher over on the coastal plains as you get toward the coast. A lot heavier populations. The soil is better and the moisture conditions are better. Small hive beetle, as you know if you've read about it, doesn't thrive well in very dry, hard ground. So the blackland qualifies for hard. And last summer, for about 6 months, we qualified for dry here. So we've got the hive beetle knocked back a little bit right now. But the best defense against hive beetles, though you can buy a myriad of hive beetle traps. There was a hive beetle trap, it seemed like, at every exhibitor booth at the North American Beekeeping Conference in Orlando last week, 10 days ago. Everybody's got a new, latest, greatest, best hive beetle trap, but a strong beehive is the best defense. A miniature beehive, like a queen mating nuke, that's got about a half a pound of bees in it, is not something that can handle hive beetles very well. So all of our East Texas queen breeders are struggling with that all across the South. There's been some answers to that problem that we weren't comfortable with in terms of putting chemicals in a queen mating nuke where a queen had access or close proximity to those chemicals. So we managed to stay profitable for a couple of years after the hive beetle got here, but 2 years ago our nukes collapsed after the first round, and so last year we decided, until we figured something out about that, we were going to take a break. So we've done our homework. We've come back with a bigger nuke that we're going to stock this year. Actually, we're going to do 3 different nukes, a little experimentation. We've got some folks from Florida, at the University of Florida in Gainesville, that are coming over with a small hive beetle lure that has a pheromone that attracts the hive beetles and uses some lights and ripe fruit, and it's pretty exotic. I don't know what. Anyway, they're going to come test those in our queen yard this year. So, first off, that's what I want to say. We didn't breed queens last year. We didn't stop our breeding selection program last year. That's not something you can stop and pick back up. So we have selected from stock that we looked at last year from several different sources our breeding stock for this year, both for our drone mothers and for our queen mothers, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a few minutes. What you do when you flip a queen is you catch a queen as she's on the comb, and you catch her by the wings just like you would a worker bee. And then if you catch her, let's say you catch her either hand, whichever hand you catch her with, and you just touch her against your index finger, and she'll spread her legs out and wrap them around your finger just like that. And so you gently do that, and then you take your thumb and you lay that on 2 of the legs, and you can let go with this hand. And so you're holding 2 of her 3 legs on one side of her body like that. and then you've got a marking pen, and you can mark her on the thorax, the back of the thorax. And then you can take your scissors out, and if you're clipping her, then you can clip the wings. A lot of theories on clipping wings, on how many to clip. You only need to clip a small portion off of one of the large wings. I mean, a really small portion, and she can't fly. I'll just tell you that I clip a lot of wing. It's like fingernails, and it doesn't hurt her.
That's an opinion.
That's an opinion. It's my silly opinion, John. The reason I clip a lot of wing is because I used to clip half of one large wing, and then I'd ship her to somebody in Vermont, and they'd call me up and say, "You didn't clip my queen." And maybe I didn't. I've made mistakes. But I sure work hard to keep those separate, but I couldn't say, "Did you really look closely?" So I started clipping a lot of wings, a lot of wing, like over half of both the large wings, so they really look clipped and you can't mistake it. And it feels bad to me, Jimmy. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. She looks butchered, but it doesn't make any difference how. If you clip a little or a lot, she can't fly. And the reason that you clip a wing then on your queen is because you don't want her leaving with a swarm. And so she's going to stay in the hive and not be able to swarm out. So that's the reason that some people like their queens. Do what?
She'll swarm, but she'll grow.
We select both sides of the genetic material. And we flood with drones. That means we provide about twice as many drones as are going to be as we know we're going to have virgin queens. So a queen can mate anywhere from, you'd love to know that every one of your queens got 12 to 15 matings. That would be ideal. So you'd need 30 drones per virgin queen that you're going to mate, or per mated queen you want to end up with, to feel good about that. Now, how do you count drones? You don't. You count square inches of brood, drone brood. And so before we even get started grafting queens, we already have figured the amount and the age of our drones. Drones are not sexually mature until 10 days after they hatch as an adult. They take 26 days to hatch, so if you've got a queen laying drone eggs today, which we don't because of the cold weather that we had 2 weeks ago, we'll actually be putting our drone combs in tomorrow, which is about 10 days late. So we already know we'll be grafting 10 days later than we want to. That just sets your calendar back because we're not going to have the drones that we need to provide the population to mate queens earlier. So it's just simple mathematic formula to get there. So we select the breeders that we want to raise our drones with and a whole nother line of stock that we want to raise our queen mothers out of. This year we'll be using some, all of our drones will be raised with queens that we bought last year and evaluated throughout the year from an apiary in Stonyford, California, Pendle Apiaries. And their stock is selected for hygienic behavior, Minnesota hygienic. I think I did a presentation to this group 2 or 3 years ago on the frozen brood assay, how you can test your bees for hygienic behavior, and we didn't do that last year. We did bring in some Minnesota hygienic stock from the Pendle apiaries. They also breed from and select for the trait that's now being called VSH, or Varroa sensitive hygiene. It's just a little different than the Minnesota hygienic trait, which we can test for ourselves. You can test for with this frozen brood assay, which we can explain another time. Varroa sensitive hygiene was previously called SMR. If you've been reading the literature on queens the last few years,